they're hopeless with their history. I mean, there was Nigel Lawson reducing the top rate of income tax from 60p to 40p. And when he did that in the 1988 budget, there was uproar. I mean, the Labor Chancellor, Dennis Healey, I should say to our viewers, Dennis Winston Healey, because the middle name honoured Winston Churchill, but he was a Balliol College, Oxford man, a splendid degree, but joined the Communist Party when he was at Oxford University. So a double first at Oxford doesn't really tend to guarantee common sense. But Andrew, didn't Dennis Healey say that he would tax the rich, quote, until the pips squeak?
Yes.
Only to find that a top personal tax rate, of 83 cents in the dollar, did no such thing. Somehow or other, these people don't seem to grasp the reality of how you manufacture economic growth.
The rich paid less tax when the top rate was 83% than they did when it was 40%. And indeed, it was 98% for what they called unearned income. In other words, dividend income or interest income on your bank account. 98%. It's why the Rolling Stones left Britain. The radical rock band didn't like 98% or 83%. Yeah. And the Beatles wrote a famous song about the tax man.
Yes.
It was taking all their money.
So
but here's the problem, as I see it. There is a limit to which you can tax the better off. Of course, it's only right that in a modern society, those can afford it should pay more tax than those that can't. I think anybody would want to argue with that. But there's a limit to which if you go beyond, they just leave. There is nobody more mobile than a well-educated English-speaking professional. They can go anywhere. And even in France, where they increased taxes in the 1990s, listen to this. 60,000 millionaires left the country. 60,000. That's your tax base walking across the border.
That's it.
To Switzerland or Italy.
Yes.
Or wherever. So you are constrained by how far you can go, and you're constrained by how much you can borrow too. You need growth.
Let me tell you, I could talk to you all night. I want to take that point up, though, because you're talking about tax exiles. You're dead right. They decide, well, we'll leave. We don't have to stay. Now, this is where we are, Andrew, on energy policy in this country. I mean, this blind pursuit of renewable energy, demonise fossil fuels, put energy costs through the roof. Manufacturers are saying, well, I'm sorry, there's other places I can put my money, and we're exporting jobs, exporting growth, exporting wealth. When do we get back to the principle argued by JFK? Lower tax rates lead to higher tax yields.
Well, I think getting the answer to this right, and particularly to the net zero policy, getting the alternative of that and the answer right is probably a necessary, not necessarily a sufficient, but a necessary first step to the sensible right finding itself in a new position. Because we're living in a world now where metropolitan elites virtue signal with their support for net zero. But the consequences is that ordinary people, as my old mentor, the economist, used to call them, without any kind of patronizing, plain folk, the backbone of the country, they're paying eye-watering fuel bills now. And it's really hurting them. And whereas, as you said earlier, you don't have to buy a new Mercedes or a new fridge or whatever, you can put that off. You have to heat the house and put the aircon on in the summer. And we are lumbering ordinary people, long before the Ukraine war pushed energy prices up. They're now coming back down a bit from there anyway. In pursuit of policies that suit the metropolitan elite, we are penalising plain folk. And I would suggest to the right, in Australia, in Britain, in the United States, that coming up with policies that take account of that and don't penalise the backbone of the country might be the beginning of getting to policies that would be popular in the 2020s.